Yay, it worked. Aloha, everyone. I see the first one in was Medium Betsy Palmer, and then we have Beth. Aloha. And aloha, everyone coming in, and aloha to everyone watching back. Thank you, Eric, for joining me. For those of you who don't know, this is Eric. Okay, I'm going to mangle your last name. Maille?
Maille, close.
Maille, okay. Creator of the Ink Witch Tarot deck. And today we are actually going to be talking about his newest deck that I actually backed on Kickstarter, the Endless Oracle. So can you give us a little intro to who you are, your background in tarot, and the idea behind the deck, maybe?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. Well, my name is Eric. I am an illustrator based out of Oklahoma. I have been an artist for several years now. I was actually an artist before I was a tarot person, but tarot's always been kind of an interest of mine. It has been sort of a family thing, really. My mom has been reading tarot since she was a teenager and kind of got the rest of my family into it through her interest in it. And so it just kind of made its way to me. And so tarot had been kind of something that I had included in my art without actually making a tarot deck for a while. When I was in school and kind of starting out as an artist, I would kind of make references to tarot imagery and symbolism in my work from time to time. And then one year I decided I was going to do this art challenge for myself where I was going to every day for the month of October, I was going to draw a tarot card. And my plan was not to make a tarot deck. It was just kind of a little art project. But when I finished the month of October, I didn't really want to stop. So I just kept making a deck, and that's how Ink Witch happened. Was just because of that. And then Endless Oracle is obviously the newest thing that I've made, and that project has kind of an interesting story too, because I was just talking to somebody on Instagram about these things called Murioramas, which are decks of picture cards where you can rearrange the cards into any order and the pictures will always line up to make a panorama. And this person on Instagram was talking about how she has never seen that used for cartomancy, and that seemed really weird to her. I thought that seemed weird to me also. So together we kind of did all this looking around online and could find a few people who were like using Murioramas for divination, but couldn't find any Murioramas that were actually like designed with that as the intention for what it would be used for. The closest thing we could find are I forget the name of the deck, but James R. Eads has a tarot deck where the artwork kind of all connects and you can't rearrange the order or it won't connect anymore. So we wanted something that would be kind of rearrangeable. And that's how I ended up making the Endless Oracle. Is it just kind of seemed like that's something that should exist and we couldn't find it anywhere. So I thought, okay, I'll just make that then.
Okay, I just want to show off some of the tarot cards real quick as you were talking. And I have the Endless Oracle here, just so I've been playing with it a lot, so it's totally not in any order. So, yeah, great deck for shuffling.
I love a good riffle shuffle.
Oh, we have Pamela. Hi, Pamela Batchelor.
Hi.
She's popping in. She says she's starstruck at the moment.
I recognize her. Hello.
Eric's artwork very much. Right.
Prisma Visions is the Eads deck. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
well, Cosmo Visions is also kind of like that in the minors.
Okay.
But it's not. I wouldn't say it's the same thing. It's just
right. It isn't. It isn't a Miriorama. If you rearrange those cards, then the connection no longer fits together, and that was something that I really wanted to do with Endless Oracle, was that you could put them into any order, and the panorama will kind of always be there.
It's always there, and I've been playing with it just to see, and it's just it's always right. It doesn't matter which side you like attach on either. So pretty amazing, I gotta
I
say.
have found a couple in like I've been using it a lot myself, of course, and I have found a couple of times things don't quite connect
Don't
as
quite
well as I wish that they had. But all of the
Mhm.
art is drawn by hand, and so I think that there's a little bit of just like human error. I think maybe if I had tried doing it digitally, it would have been a little bit more precise, but
Well,
pretty close.
close enough. I mean, it's close enough that your eye definitely like sees it as a continuation,
Hmm.
right? At least for me. So, and it just, I gotta say, I always grab the book when I'm working with it.
Oh
Just
yeah.
because there's times where I'm sitting here and I'm just like, wait, what? And but then I want to read your explanation for the card,
Hmm.
and then I see how each one like lines up. That really speaks to me. I think I won't need the book quite as much later, but I don't know. Oracles are there's two schools for me. There's the oracle that I'll probably always reach for the deck, the book, and then there's the decks, of course, that's like from day one, and I hardly even look at the book. So, but
Yeah.
this one for me is endless possibilities. I will continue going back to the book just because I think it's just very well written, and you have a lot of
Thank you.
insight for each card. So
I
I
think it's
love.
also kind of useful just because a lot of people I've realized haven't noticed this, which is fine. But there is something specific in the sky on each card to kind of add like an extra little layer of something. And that isn't always visible. Like in that card, the Walled City card, it's just a constellation. So it's kind
Right.
of hard to see unless you're looking for it.
And that's
And
one of the reasons I go to the book,
yeah,
really.
the book will tell you what everything is, and I really like having a book with an oracle deck myself whenever I use other people's oracles, but I kind of like to lean into my own intuition first and then kind of look
Right.
and see what the book says. And so when I was making this is the first oracle that I've made. I wanted something that could give people that experience really easily, where you could probably get something really worthwhile out of it just on an initial intuitive reaction, but that there would be ample supplement information available if you wanted it.
Hmm. Well, the reason why I say that I'm gonna keep reaching for the book is mainly for the things in the sky.
Hmm.
I think that like the write up you have for the cards, like because I've had the Giants before, and so as soon as I saw it, I immediately thought of the write up you have in the book, and that so it's like I think I could read more intuitively with it now that I know like what it represents.
Hmm.
So I see this as like those hidden things that like you try and point out, no one else is gonna see them, kind of thing, right? Um, the cohort, that's another one I've gotten before. I don't think I've had the forest or the bridge, but yeah, I just the way it flows together is just really. I've never seen anything like it, so that's why I wanted you on here.
Well, thanks.
Maybe a little later we could pull some cards for people and
Oh
do
yeah,
like mini readings or something.
yeah, that'd be fun.
I'm just continuing to show as we chit chat here because I love how each time it creates a story. There's always a story there, and it's always different. Always different.
A lot of the Murioramas that I saw when I was researching this to kind of get ready to make something like it, are used for storytelling. Like a lot of the decks the artists have illustrated, not for divination, they've done for people to just kind of do like creative brainstorming, which I think is a really good application of something like this.
Right.
And kind of why they work so well for divination, I think, is because it really strikes that like creative and intuitive part of the brain where you can um, look at the image and it does automatically kind of feel like it's telling a story, and so you just kind of have to unpack what that story is. I feel like tarot and Lenormand all kind of do that to
Right.
some extent. So the Muriel-Rama idea seemed really like, why hasn't anyone done that for a deck yet?
No, it once I've seen it, I was like, what, this is such a cool concept, and like, why aren't there more? I mean, I understand the like there's the Cosmovisions, Prismavisions where the miners like create a story,
Mhm.
but the thing that these do that just like I can't get over is the fact that it doesn't matter which order you lay them out in, it's still a story. Right? Oh, sirens. That's loud. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but we've had so many sirens these days. It's crazy. Like
Mm.
I don't understand sometimes. We're on island. Why? What? What's going on?
Yeah, I live in kind of a big urban part of the state, so I feel pretty used to it. But on an island, that does seem a little out of place.
I remember during the pandemic, it was like if you heard one, it was like, "What's going on?" Because it's like it was usually dead silent.
Yeah, it was a little weird to hear anything going on other than like your neighbors.
Well, and you always noticed when a plane was landing because
Yeah.
we're in one of those like main, what are they even called, air corridors, and a lot of the planes, if it's windy, they have to turn, and we're like right under where most of them turn. So,
Uh,
but during the pandemic, there was like maybe one plane a day, if that, and we're just like, what's going on?
yeah, a lot less traveling happening for a while.
Oh God, Beth. So she says a coconut fell on Keith Richards' head. Shit happens on islands. It's true. And then there's people disappearing and during their hikes, or they're going out
Mm.
for a snorkel and don't bother to come back, or a big sneaker wave comes and grabs people. That's fun. Oh, it's just so. But the weavers, the archway, the crossroads, the butterfly. It's just it's amazing how you could, like, I want to use it not just for um, as an oracle, but as like a story prompt. Like,
Mhm.
draw out 4 cards and write a story. It's just like, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I like the idea that you could use it whether you're a tarot oracle person or like you said, somebody just wanting a writing prompt or something to kind of brainstorm with.
Or say you play tabletop role playing games and need
Yeah,
a plot for the evening. Let's throw out 4 cards. Okay, first
yeah,
there's going
that's
to be a unicorn, and then there's going to be a figure by a fire, and then there's that special pool there with that stag, right? And it's really in the fairy ring. Yeah, I got my whole game for the night. Yeah, that's a good question. Beth, Phaser Raising, wants to know how many cards are in the deck.
There are 53. I started with 50. It was going to be a nice round even 50, but I made the or funded the deck through Kickstarter, and 3 of the stretch goal rewards that I had with the Kickstarter were extra cards. So
Extra cards.
those might not be around in like future print runs of the deck, but they are in the copy that's available to people now. So 53 for now.
And I
The
do have
box
a link.
has.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
link for this
Oh,
shop in the description. Yeah.
thanks. The box has a lot of extra room in it too, just kind of by chance. So I'd like to do more cards in the future. At one point, when I was kind of
Packs.
first setting out on making the deck and planning what would be in it, I was like making a list of what I thought all of the cards would be, and went back and forth on a whole bunch of them. And at one point, I had almost 70 cards planned, and it was like, no, if doing that, then why not just make a tarot deck anyway? And trying to make an oracle because I'd never made one before, so I did a lot of trimming back. But it'd kind of be nice in the future maybe to make more that could go with it.
Mm-hmm. I would love to get an expansion pack. I mean, that'd be fun. Not that I feel like it doesn't really. It's not missing anything by any chance, but I think adding to it would be fun too.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I feel like it's. I mean, it wouldn't have released it if I didn't feel like it was finished. But I always like getting little add-ons and that kind of thing. So.
Mm-hmm. Are you planning on doing any more decks?
Oh yeah, I've got actually several projects planned out. I'm working on an endless tarot actually that will look pretty much exactly like this, but be a tarot deck.
That would be
So
fun.
they can go together. I'm working on a sort of
shuffling the two decks together. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I've thought about that too, and I've been kind of debating whether or not. I mean, this is very, very early in the process, but I've kind of been debating whether or not I would give it the same card back, just so that if you shuffled it together, it all blend together really nicely. But that's something I've been working on a little bit. Another tarot deck, kind of as like a sort of like a spiritual successor to Inkwitch. A few years ago, or I guess not a few years ago, 2021, I made a little expansion for Inkwitch, sort of as an alternative to doing a second edition of the deck. And it got me thinking about what a second edition of the deck would be like. And as I thought about that more and more, the ideas I was coming up with felt like just their own unique tarot deck. And so that's something I've kind of put a little bit of work into. I've also been working on an oracle deck that's art themed, so it's all based on like the tools and styles and experiences of artists. And I like the idea of making something that could function as an oracle deck, but also kind of help artists in an artistic process, kind of helping them come up with ideas or overcome creative blocks. So I've been working on that. But the big project that I've been working on since finishing this one, and like my main goal for this year, is an apothecary themed oracle deck that I'm actually collaborating on with two other people. Thomas from Hermit's Mirror is the one who is kind of like the main author creating the deck. He's the one who reached out to me and said, hey, would you illustrate this? And then we also have an herbalist named Michael Anthony who did the Small Spirits Oracle deck, if anyone knows that one. He is kind of like our herbal consultant. So it's a lot of plants and tools that an herbalist would use. And there's a lot of like human figurative elements to the artwork. It's kind of a like gay centric apothecary style oracle that we're working on together. And so that's my main goal for 2023, is just to finish the art for that so we can release that early next year, hopefully.
That's cool. I actually just took a class with Thomas on
cool.
Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday.
Nice.
Kipper. Yeah. So I backed his Kipper deck.
Cielo Thompson is one of my favorite deck creators too. I was really excited when I found out that she and Thomas were doing something together. I love both of their work a lot.
Yeah. I'd never done Kipper, but I saw that deck and I had to have it.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I'd never even heard of it before. I didn't know what it was until I saw that deck, and I got very excited to learn what it was right away.
I'm getting distracted by chat here. Hi, Ozark Oracle. Aloha. Aloha, Ak. And hello, Lisa Rhodes. I don't think I said hello to you, but welcome. Welcome, everyone. So, what do you think about doing 3 card draws with this for people, just to have a little,
Sure.
have some fun? So
Yeah,
if
I'd
you
love
are interested in having us do a reading for you, in all caps, say yes. Just popping in. Well, welcome. You can lurk if you want. Thank you, Beth. So I will be starring the yeses. The first one is Noah. Aloha, Noah. Let me go back to that bigger screen for this. One more shuffle for you. I got into the habit of knocking. I think Betsy is the one that got me hooked on that. The Zenith, the Mirror Pool, and the Diplomat. Let's see. So you're definitely aiming towards the pinnacle of some kind. You're trying to reach like it's like the ultimate level of skill in a certain area, subject is what I'm seeing, in a way, so you can see yourself better, right? And the better you know yourself, the higher you can look out, the easier it is to, act the part of the diplomat and keep the balance between different factions, different people, different groups of friends. So that's what I'm seeing here. Do you see Eric?
I'd say that was pretty spot on. My very initial reaction, that was pretty much it. I think if you like cartomancy as predictive, which I know not everybody does, but if you do, I think that a good way you could look at these 3 cards together would kind of be to say, when you reach that peak, that it will kind of cause some shift in perspective. It will sort of stimulate a certain self-reflection that will make you more skilled at that diplomatic role. That goal you're aiming for, or maybe something you've already reached, is going to kind of lead to an exploration of how you view yourself, and how you're able to connect other people and mediate between them.
I love that. Thank you. Let's see. Lots of chit chat going on in here. The next one is Jane the Seeker. Aloha, Jane. I'm not going to be able to see the comments just because I'm dealing with the stars right now. So anything that I need my attention on to, just give me a minute. Jump down to the comments. I'll jump back and forth. Good morning, Nicole. So Nicole is the owner of the new tarot shop on Maui, Ace of Cups.
Oh, cool.
Haiku. So all you Maui folks, I'm just saying, it's a great little shop. Okay, Jane the Seeker. Ooh, the mountain. The witches. The dog. So the mountaineer, what I'm getting here is this feeling of like being on the trail, knowing you're climbing a mountain, but not knowing what part of the mountain you're on, how much further you got. Just this feeling of like feeling a little lost, right? Um, you have your circle of witches that help you, at least feel grounded. But the thing that really helps you the most, keeps you grounded the most, and helps you find the path ahead is your dog. So it's this feeling here of like you're feeling a little lost in the woods. The support structure you got is okay, but it's just in that circle. It's not outside of that circle. And it's the animals that lead you, the animals that guide you where you need to go. So
I like that. I feel like the like what you said about the mountain making you feel kind of like there's a sense of being sort of lost or not really knowing where you're at. I made that card to kind of represent the idea of obstacles, very similar to like a Lenormand mountain. And that's absolutely a big obstacle. I think it's worth remembering that like not every obstacle feels really physical. Like sometimes it does feel like just I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm at, or just kind of that sense of being lost is as much an obstacle as like having a big mountain in front of you.
right.
Yeah, and then the dog, it's kind of funny because both of those cards, the mountain and the dog, they both kind of started with an initial inspiration from Lenormand. And in this was only kind of the intention in this card, in this dog, but in Lenormand, that could represent just a really supportive, loyal friend. So I thought it was interesting. The witches struck you as like a support circle that's kind of small, but maybe there's somebody or something, maybe an actual dog, even, or an actual pet. There could be something that is, within that support circle, but just a little bit more connected to you than the
Mhm.
rest of the support that you have. Somebody or something that just is closer to you than the rest of your support.
Right. The best friend, as James
Mhm.
says. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm. And she says, I'm so lost, I'm in tears. Yes. I mean, sending you lots of aloha and hugs. Right.
that happens. But I feel like one thing that I think is interesting about these three cards together is that a big um, part of that dog card is that that dog is kind of looking off past this fence, and it's a little hard to
Mm.
see maybe on your screen, but there is this wolf that's kind of off in the distance on top of that hill that the dog might be looking at. So there's kind of this relationship between like um, your domestic nature and your non-domestic nature. And this card to me always sort of feels like an impasse card. Like it also kind of has that sense of being lost and wondering, should I stay here where it's safe, or should I go out there where I'm appealing to my instincts, but maybe it's a little bit more dangerous. And that could maybe be uh, a thought or a feeling to explore and maybe find some direction there.
Hmm. I didn't even notice the wolf at first.
Yeah, it's a little,
Because it
it's
was
quiet.
just this strong feeling of like wanting the support of humans and like kind of getting it, but not to the extent that she needs, and that
Yeah.
the animals were her real support. Is what I was
Mhm.
getting really strong. The call of the wild, yes, Pamela.
Yeah.
Mhm. And Pamela threw up a little idea here. And Jane the Seeker, you have your feet firmly on your path. That mountain is there in life. Your witches and best friends are dancing with you. I love that, Pamela. Thank you
I
for
like
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this deck is pretty powerful. Speaking of Pamela, next we've got Pamela Blatchler. And as you can tell, I'm not going by the book right now. I'm just letting my intuition go crazy.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. I actually had someone tell me once that I don't even need the cards. It's I don't know. I'm so used to playing with cards that it's easy with cards. I don't know how
I think
else.
that's what they're for, to kind of get you started, to kind of help your mind have like a base to jump off of.
Well, knowing Betsy Palmer has definitely helped. I'll tell you that much. So Pamela, you got the cat, the cohort, and the forest. Can you remind me what constellation the cat's looking at?
That is Pisces.
I see this. Okay. I'm seeing you here as the cat, truthfully, Pamela. You do a lot of deep thinking in the evenings at night when you're stargazing. The trickle of your consciousness is always heading towards that open sea of the unconscious. But at the same time, with the cohort here, I feel like even though you're like stargazing and constantly in this like almost otherworldly brain wave pattern, you love having your friends around you. You have this like particular group of people that you have around you on a regular basis. You do dinners on a regular basis. And it's that combination of that inner world with the strength of the outer world that helps you get through the forest of life. Those cohorts help you find those clearings where you can just pause and have a moment. But if you find yourself without cohorts and just wandering the forest alone, you revert back to this cat-like persona where you're observant but almost unobserved, right? I almost want to say kind of invisible to the world. But that combination is really what's helping you find your path through the forest, find your path in this world. So that was a deep one. Sorry about that.
I like that. I think these three cards are really interesting to me visually together, just because the cohort is such like a crowded thing. And then on either side of it, there's sort of the symmetry in like the way that those both feel like sort of lonely cards, compared to that cohort, which has the crowd of people. It's named after a crowd of people. It's about a crowd of people. And so it's kind of interesting to see it framed by these two things that feel a little bit lonelier. And even like just the visual like composition of the panoramic, things almost kind of feel like they're making a triangle into that cohort. Like you were saying, that cohort's holding it up in a very like literal feeling way. So I thought that was really interesting, because even just in the imagery, all of the weight of the visual is held up by that sort of center verticality.
Yeah. Pamela says, I was marveling at the visual of these three cards as well. I am the lonely hunter. I love that. Beautiful. it came through really deep for me. It took me a minute to like process. Call of the Wild, definitely. Yeah. Hey. Oh, and Pamela, Betsy has a message for you. I keep getting that this is your team of guides reminding you they are present for you. Yeah, I could see that with the cohort being the like spirit guides surrounding you. Okay, that was Pamela. Next, we have Beth. The dog. Start with the dog, and then we get the cat. And the ships. Interesting. Okay. Let me digest this for a minute. Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is again that feeling of the call of the wild I was getting for others. Oh, hi Gerald. Turo Stash is here. He's been lurking. um, I can't help but see the almost like a circle right here with the path from the dog, the stream of the cat. So it's like the two halves are coming together to make a whole. You're embracing that wildness, right? And I think that's why this is just feeling really balanced here. You're finding that inner balance between your inner cat and inner dog, so to speak. And the ships here, I my eye keeps getting drawn to this. Is that what kind of flower is that?
They're pea flowers.
Pea flowers. Okay.
Yeah, I'd heard that they are associated with like safe voyages, so I thought they'd be good on the ships.
Oh, on the ships. Okay. So it's that balance that is keeping you safe on your journey. That's what I'm getting here. And you notice the ocean is like continuous here. So it's you're going from the mountains, you're leaving the mountain, going straight for the ocean. I just keep getting that there's a journey ahead of you. There's like a big trip happening, and I almost want to say it's a big move. Like got all your ships packed and you're on your way. So it's like it's almost I'm finding this by finding this balance, it's taking you to the next step of packing up and moving on. So
I do really think that that like transition from like the earth imagery to the water imagery is kind of neat, because even in like the ships obviously is going to have something to do with a transitional like a move type of situation, and so having the image itself is kind of transitioning as a whole from these mountains to the water, like you were saying. It really
right.
seems to kind of put the stamp on that. I also think it's kind of interesting. The dog and the cat are both very like mental, intuitive things. Like we were talking earlier about how the dog has a lot to do with that domestic versus wild aspect of ourselves, and if we're going to embrace our instincts versus what feels comfortable to us. And then the cat has a lot to do with being intuitive and being curious and sort of psychically aware. And so those do really feel like I agree with what you were saying about how it feels like you kind of need that circle completed so that you can go on this journey. It really does feel like there is this very mental and sort of leaning into what is speaking to you intuitively, uh, before you set off on that journey or as you're setting off on that journey, whatever it might be.
Right. We have a question from Gerald here. So the Endless Oracle and the Ink Witch are not, yeah, they're the same.
Yep, they're the same size and they're the same card stock, so they handle very similarly.
Because I think he's thinking about shuffling them together. But Gerald, if you agree, Eric is making an Endless Tarot, just like him. That would be even better.
It probably won't be finished anytime soon at all, but it is happening.
It is happening. That's what I'm looking forward to. Yes, Tony, that's the Ink Witch. I showed it. I kind of flipped through at the beginning. So. Thank you so much. It's very interesting. What should you say? That's what I was thinking. Oh Lord, I also see the balance between earth and water, safety and fluidity. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I also kind of see that switch from earth to water as like, and I even almost see this in like the foreground imagery. It sort of feels like this transition from things which are very grounded and very stable to things that feel very safe and very normal to things that feel more emotionally driven. Because like I was saying earlier, the cat and the dog, they both have this like leaning into your instincts versus your domestic self. And I feel like earth and water kind of have that too, in the sense of like safety and stability versus things that are driven by our emotion and our psyche.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Oh, Jane. Jane says, "Why do you do this to me? My birthday's coming." Okay, so that was Beth. Next, we have Joseph, IT guy. Let's see what the story for Joseph is. Jane says, "I need to share this deck with my kids." Yes, the deck link with the kids, yes. Joseph, IT guy. You still here, Joseph? I know you're lurking, or you were lurking. The cohort. It's funny how certain cards just keep popping up, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that always happens with me too when I use this one in a way that it doesn't as often with tarot, it seems like.
Yep, Joseph is still here. Hi. The cohort, the ships, the cottage in the woods. Very interesting because you get like the mountain here behind the cohort, the ocean here with the ships, and then like the forest here.
Yeah. One thing when I'm using this deck, I always kind of try and see if I have like a really initial reaction that makes it feel like the image is a sequence from like step 1, step 2, step 3, or if it feels like something that's happening all at the same time. And because of that, where that like water line is sort of right in the middle, to me this does feel a lot more like one thing rather than like steps in a process.
Right.
I don't know if you got that as well, but
no, I totally saw this as like it's steps, but it's almost like they're all happening together.
They do feel a lot more unified than I think the panoramas sometimes do.
Right. So it's almost like there's 3 things happening here, but they're all connected. So for me, it was like I immediately was like, okay, there's something going on here with coworkers, maybe having to travel for work, and really just missing that like that home feeling, the cottage in the woods, that like safe space. Because you're out on adventure, you're out sailing, and all I can think about is that like that home in the woods that you're missing.
Mm.
So, yeah, that's how I'm seeing it too. It's like this coworker thing going on here. It's like there's friends that you work with that you like have a blast, and you know that they're watching your back. But then there's a lot of stuff that's like happening overseas that you have very little control over. And all you want to do is retreat to your little cottage in the woods, maybe throw some cards while your kettle's boiling. I mean, that's just how I see. Jane, there's 53 cards in the deck.
I definitely get that vibe from this too, that it feels like the foreground of this image feels really like homey and, like you were saying, safe. But having those ships really like front and center, front and center, but off in the distance, something that your eye like immediately hones in on, that feels very important, that like you might require a separation from these things that are safe and homey and comfortable.
Right. Oh yeah, I could see that as like going on the ship and heading towards new waters that you've never been to, and all you can think about are your like cohorts and your safe little home. No,
yeah,
I could see that too. But it definitely is like it's not like a sequence. It's just a single picture for me. That's the best way of describing it. Gerald says, imagine the stories I could tell if I combined the Ink Witch and the Endless Oracle. That would be fun, for sure. Next. Hope that was helpful, Joseph. I know it was kind of a non-reading there. He says, very cool, I have to think about it more. So next, we have Protect My Energy AAC, or as we like to call her, ACK. The forest, the palace, the witches. I keep coming back to this like black crescent moon here. There's something happening with moon cycles. I got that really strong from that. The forest feels overwhelming in a way, right? And you feel like this palace is something that's just stuck in your brain, an imaginary place that'll never actually become reality. You have your circle that you're keeping close to you. You're in a cycle of endings. That's what I'm getting. And then what it is it's a cycle of endings to help you get through the forest and finally find that palace that you think is just in your mind. And also a palace where you can bring your circle with you instead of feeling like you were alone in the woods. And in a way, this palace is also keeping you separate from that circle. So Is this palace really what it's imagined to be, or is it more of a prison, like a mental prison? Keeping these separate, keeping your wildness separate from who you want to be. Definitely, this is a deep one. There's some stuff here for her that I think she'll understand that we won't. That's just what I'm getting really strongly from the cards, especially with the palace being the center there.
I think it's kind of cool how much light there is in this one for like how dark of a visually dark the deck is. All of them are nighttime scenes, but the sun is either rising or setting in the palace, and the witches have this huge fire going. I always associate light and fire, especially in any deck, just because this is maybe a personal thing, but it feels like a lot of like power and energy. And so even though that forest does feel like kind of cumbersome or whatever, like something you're kind of stuck in or having difficulty navigating, I having all of this light that sort of feels like it's off in the distance of that makes me wonder if you do have something that's kind of guiding you that you can sort of spot through all of the trees and sort of have something to aim for, even if you're feeling a little directionless.
I do like that idea of the light, but it almost makes it seem like there's two lights calling to her and she's not quite sure which one to go to. Because we got like the palace being super bright and the witch's circle being very bright too. So is it,
that's the point.
Is it the safety you want, or is it the circle you want? And that's the two that are kind of like pulling. So
something kind of interesting about the palace with the witches together is that one of the intentions behind the palace card, which I want to say an intention behind it because it can mean whatever the hell you want it to mean or feel like it means. That's very much like the main function of this deck. But something I kind of wanted to put into that card is this idea of ego, that there is like luxury and power in the symbolism of a palace, but also like being in a high tower and feeling sort of this very strong like sense of who you are, whether that's like a positive ego thing or a negative ego thing. It feels very much like me specifically, whereas the witches is a group of people. And so I think what you said about it sort of feels like there are two lights to follow. One of them feels very like self-centric, and the other feels a little bit more of a group sort of power.
Definitely. Yeah, it's so intriguing how the stories just kind of write themselves too. And also I can see it being like being that like, okay, do I listen to my own light or do I go along with the group? So yeah, lots to think of, lots of food for thought here. And Betsy is off to swim. Bye, Betsy. Enjoy the ocean. So Gerald, if you get the deck, it does have a guidebook. I've been using the guidebook while I've been using it myself, but I decided today to just let it trigger my intuition instead of going by the book. But the book is really great because Eric has some celestial thing in the sky of every card, and the book tells you what it is. So that's really helpful. And it just helps describe the card from Eric's point of view. Jane says, I have to say, when you pulled the witches card for me, I'm meeting with my group today. Amazing. I love that. Very cool. Let me see. Is there any other questions I might have missed? Oh, that would be fun. Get a bunch of people together and pull cards and tell a story. I'd have to invite Eric for such. Yes, Gerald, you should. That would be so much
That would
fun.
be fun.
I think I got all the questions. If I missed any questions, please put them in the chat again. Otherwise, so speaking of Betsy, that is who I will be with next week. We will be doing our usual. Let me get us. There we go. Yeah. There we go. That's better. Oh, yes, Nicole, we can pull you some. Let me just do this again. There we go. More Eric cards, Pamela says. More cards, more stories. Yes, more Eric, more cards, more stories. I love it. Okay. So cool. The ships. The observatory. The cat. Oh, it's so funny how many. We got 53 cards and we keep pulling the same like 5. I love it. Oh, hi, Peter J. Watts, who's lurking. And Beth says, yes, love it, Gerald. Endless hot chocolate story. That would be amazing. That would be fun. Okay, Nicole. The ships. Well, I know you're just starting your business and you're getting things ready, you're getting things together. And in this one, I don't see the ships going away. I see them as coming in. It's like they're bringing.
That's how I felt too. Yeah. Yeah, I had that exact same thought.
The ships are coming in for you, right? So the observatory is, look, the observatory is staring at the moon there. So have you been planning the opening around moon cycles? Have you been, I'm feeling like you're planning the business around astrological symbolism and like certain signs being in certain positions. That's what the observatory is screaming at me, is that you're really paying attention to how everything's lining up for the grand opening. And at the same time, like the observatory is looking up, Cat's looking up too. So it's not just the business, right? It's also the internal work. The internal work is getting boosted by all this. I mean, you get the ocean here, and then you have the observatory and the rocks. But then from this mountain area, we see like this stream coming through back to the ocean. So you got the ocean on both sides, right? Here you are on your little island observing what's going on. But you're also doing that internal work, right? Learning to just go with the flow, learning how to put into work the things you're observing. That's what I'm getting.
Something I really like about that, what you pointed out about how you kind of have that ocean that crosses back behind the observatory. There is that stream that kind of comes from that water source up to the cat. That makes me wonder, like, if your ships are coming in, what is coming in with them? Like, what's in that water that's carrying the ships that you're kind of bringing with you?
Yeah, definitely. My ships is truly coming in. I did have my astrologer check my transits. I love it. And the opening is on Imbolc. And I do have a lot going on, and my word lately has been allow. So, Nicole, is that your word for 2023? Allow. And for you, Eric, Gerald has just purchased responsibly, and he knows his limits, and he just completed his order. And
Oh, thank you.
he would like to invite you to do group readings.
Oh, yeah. I'd be into that. That sounds great.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you. You're very welcome, and thank you. And yes, your word for the year is allow.
It's a good word.
My word for 2023 is connect. And I just connected Eric with Gerald. So there we go. Thank you so much. This has been a blast.
Yeah.
Any last words before we get going? Do you have anything on the horizon?
Not that I don't think I've said already.
Right.
I'm all over the internet, so if you want to get in touch, I'm easy to find. And I think Jonathan said he had a link as well on this video. So it's easy to find me if you want to talk about tarot or oracle. I'm happy to do that with you. Like this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, of course. Thank you for joining me, Eric. And I look forward to getting that expansion pack. I mean, there is room in the box.
There's plenty of room in the box.
Quite a bit more. Yeah.
It was kind of just like a happy coincidence.
Happy accident.
Yeah. I think that the printer who prints the deck, I think that they just use that box for anything that is tarot sized, and so I think it can fit 78-ish cards.
Right.
So I got the box and had a moment of like, oh, there's so much empty space in here, and then I was like, actually, that's a good thing. Maybe I'll just go with it.
Go with it. And Nicole says, I need these decks in the shop.
I would love to have them in your shop. We can talk about that if you want.
So we reached out. Yeah. So Nicole, there is a link directly to his website in the description if you need it. He's also on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere.
And good luck with your shop, by the way. That's so exciting. I'm very excited for you.
Yes, I'm very excited to have a shop on island, and one that I can actually read out of. Start doing in person again. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Zoom and being able to like record things so that they can like watch the reading over and over again. But there's just something nice about like sitting across a table from somebody, right?
Yeah. And kind of that back and forth is a little bit easier in person to kind of like have more of a discussion. It's a little bit more
right,
more personal, even though this type of thing does feel personal and it does feel like nice and communal, but there is something different and special about being able to read for somebody in person, for sure.
Definitely. Thank you, Nicole. I look forward to it too. Okay, so thank you everyone for being here. Come back next week for readings with me and Betsy. Jane also wants to read out of a shop. I mean, it's just, yes, thank you for reminding me. We will be putting together a tarot club at the shop. So if you are on Maui or going to be visiting Maui, we will have tarot club. So I'm looking forward to that too. Beth says, my dog is telling me I have to get off. Thank you both. Bye now. Bye, Beth. Bye, everyone. Thank you for being here. Aloha and a hui hou.